Hello and welcome to Raise the Bar, the podcast with Troy Haynes of Sky High and Fly Jump Camps. Right now we are getting ready for part 2 of the Jordan Jumpman Wesner interview. Jordan just competed in the U.S. Olympic trials and made it to the final, where he unfortunately didn't make the team. This second part, we're going to be talking about some of his training and some of his advice to young jumpers. So get ready to be regaled. You even mentioned being a high jumper that you were either, I don't want to say mistakenly guided towards distance, but you were doing distance because your brother was doing it, right? So you were doing distance running and training all those explosive fibers to be, slow, oxidative, slow twitch.
Exactly.
Go for days, they can keep going, but they're not using you that fast, right? So that cross training, work has been a bane of my existence as a coach, because you get those kids who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to do cross country in the fall. I'm like, no. Go out for volleyball, go out for basketball. Like do something that's jump oriented, because you go out for cross country for those months and we're going to have to retrain you. If, like you're saying, those first couple of weeks when you got back, you didn't have any twitch at all. It's like, oh my gosh. So
long and slow. Exactly. You don't, if you want to take high jump serious, or really any sprinting high jump or anything like that, I would stay away from cross country.
Right.
100%.
Definitely from the horse's mouth there. You got it from Jordan, the Jumpman Wesner. My other questions were, how tall are you then? Because we're talking about the advantages of tall and jumping and everything. What's the height and the weight stats going in at?
Well, I'm about 6'3". I stand about 6'3", about 200 pounds. That's pretty heavy for a lot of high jumpers, definitely. I've tried to lean down. I've been down to 175 pounds, and I've been up to 220 pounds. My weight fluctuates that much. Whenever I was boxing, I was trying to get under, the light heavyweight at 178 pounds there. Okay. I couldn't get off the ground at 178 pounds. Right. I think everyone just has that specific weight. And, once I get down to about 195 to 200, that's my weight. It just, I know I have athletes ask me all the time, how big is weight in high jump? And if you can lose 5-6 pounds and keep that same explosiveness, keep the numbers going the same, keep that weight moving 2 meters a second, plus in the weight room, all that, it should work, right, on paper. But for me, once I get under 195 pounds, I start losing power.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah, exactly. Height's huge. I mean, height can be beneficial, but then you look at guys like Stefan Holm, I think he jumped 240, 241, 240. And
he was 5'11".
5'11". Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, height isn't the determining factor. However, the taller you are, the more room for error you have. If
Sure.
you're 6'5" and you're 5'5", you have, 12 inches of error with hips. Your hips are already 12 inches higher off the ground, right?
Yeah. Mass for sure.
Exactly. It makes a difference. But like I said, you got guys like Stefan Holm bouncing over 240. Yeah. So
it's amazing that you said that, though, Jordan, because I was always, when I was in school, I had the blessing to be thrown in with Del Davis, who, and I'll tell you how old I am now. In 1982, my senior year in high school, I'm reading, I think it was a day before the state meet. I'm reading in Sports Illustrated an article about a young American, Del Davis, who jumped 7.25 at Provo, Utah, who's from UCLA. And I'm reading the article, and, they introduced Bob Larson, who was my head coach when I was there. He was Del's jump coach. And, I'm listening to that. And then Lee Balkin, who still holds the California State high school record at the state meet itself, 7.3, and jumped 7.6 when he was at UCLA. Those guys were both there when I was training. And my first year in high school, I was 6'3", 180. And like you said, I didn't really touch the weights that much. So we didn't have a great weight room at my high school. And I walked into UCLA's weight room. And it's just this mecca of stuff, from Cybex equipment and dumbbells that go from 0 to 150, which amazed me the first time I saw one of the hugest people I've ever seen, who was there training football. Obviously, this guy walked up to these two 150s and picked them up and just started doing English.
Really?
I'm just like, oh my gosh, these are some of the biggest people I've ever seen. But the weight room was great, and I get in there and I put on the freshman 15 fast. I went from 6'3", 180, jumping 2 meters 10 to 6'3", 195, jumping 2 meters 5. I think I jumped 2 meters 5 once my freshman year, and I just had a horrible year. But I wasn't lifting as much as I gained the weight. So my second year, I went up to full squats with 400 pounds and I jumped 7.2. So it took me a year to do that adjustment. Well, Dell and Lee were always telling me that I was too big. The same thing that you're talking about. I was convinced that I was, just way too heavy at 195, but I couldn't lose any weight either. And I tried to lose weight, and I was already at 3-point-something% body fat. I don't have a lot of body fat.
Wow, that's
incredible. I was mostly muscle, right? And I had people come up to me. I'm sure it must have happened to you, because as skinny as the high jump community can be, I had someone come up to me and said, "Are you a decathlete?" And I'm like, I don't have any talent in any other events. I did a little pole vault in high school, and I'm like, "No, why?" And they're like, "You're kind of big for a high jumper." I'm like, in my mind, I was skinny. I'd always heard those words when I was growing up. 6'3", 180 was not a big free safety when I was playing high school football. I looked like I was going to break. My mom was worried I was going to break my neck. So, 6'3", 195, I remember walking around going, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better about myself, but I didn't feel fat. But I felt the same way. My best jumps were at 195. That's so interesting to hear those numbers come out. So
I think the big point, right, is the body composition, right? You can be 6'3", 205, but if you're 10% body fat and under, that's doing pretty good. But if you're 6'3", 175 and you're 20% body fat,
right?
So if you have accessibility to get that DEXA scan, that's huge. That's a huge benefit.
Okay, what do you do that? How do you do that? You said getting the benefit of doing it. How do you get it?
Most universities, most of your larger, like University of Memphis has a DEXA scan machine. Florida State here has a DEXA scan. So, it's essentially just like a little mini MRI. You sit down and it tells you your bone density, your muscle mass, your fat composition, all that stuff. Right.
All in one shot. Okay.
Yes, sir.
They underwater weighed me when I was at UCLA, because that was the kinesiology department there was big into the underwater weighing still. So,
right.
There's a few methodology problems with that, that everybody kind of just wrote off, because the database was so huge, the cadaver studies they did. And, they just had all kinds of height and weight data with all the different things. So I remember getting weighed, having to get all your air out. So when my body fat was around 3, I get in the tank and the guy goes, "Let all your air out." And I just went right to the bottom. I mean, I was just sitting on the chair in the bottom of the tank. I didn't even have to let out my air. I was sitting on the bottom of the tank. So I thought it was pretty funny. Then I've got these notes that I wrote out. Getting the coordination between us is difficult because we're on the other coast. I really appreciate you staying up this late. Other sports, I talked about basketball, dunks. Then when you were in college, what did you major in, and what do you have in mind for your profession once your athletic career is over?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad at University of Memphis of economics. I did my master's of business administration with a concentration of economics, and then I did a master's of information technology here at Florida. I have a job here for actually the state lottery lined up. I'd like to stay in Florida, man. I love Florida. It's a fun state. It's beautiful. I also have a job back home for Mercury Marine. So we'll see what happens there. It just gets so cold back home, man. That's the only downside. Summers are beautiful. Winters are miserable. So
well, all you've got in the winter is Packer games, right? Or is that just certain parts of the state? What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Just ice fish and drink beer, right? That's the only thing you got up there.
Yeah, not good for high jumping, but it takes the edge off for sure.
That's the truth.
Do you have any special? I know it's almost sounds like talking to a boxer, and since you're a boxer, do you have any special person in your life that you spend time with that you're looking forward to getting married? Are you hitched up with anybody, or is it like women make you weak right now and keep them away until this is all over?
Man, I'm just having fun, still in college here and having a good time at Florida State. Had a great time at University of Memphis, and if it happens, it happens. That's the way I look at it. What about you? You married or?
Yeah. Just got married 2 years ago. My wife Pam and I are living happily in Santa Monica in California. I'm a stone's throw from the beach. I still don't get there enough. This is my second summer living in this house with her, so I need to get my butt down to the beach because it's just beautiful down there. But we're right at the end of our season here in California to state meet and stuff because I train. I have a few athletes that come back and visit me from college, but most of the time I'm training high school kids. So, I have a few guys that are going to check back in this summer. So I've got a little bit of touch with the colleges, but, the summer is just so we came right up to the end. We're actually still technically have a state meet next week. They canceled the original one and some of these promoters came up with another one. So smart way to make some money. They're taking the top 40 people in the state. They're saying we're going to have the California State Championships quotes. It's not CIF sanctioned, but nobody really cares. But a lot of the kids, since they know it's not the real state meet, they're like, their season's over, even though they could go if they wanted to. And then there's some that are anxious to keep going. You always get those types. So
wait, so now that's interesting. So you have a private, essentially a private state meet in a way? Like
they took all the high school kids. Here's the basic story from what I'm understanding. Arcadia is a huge meet here in California for the high school level kids. They go mostly California, but they usually pull in kids from other state, although this COVID year they didn't do that. But it's a big showcase. Like I said, I met Mike Powell, the world record in the long jump when I was in high school. I was a junior. He was a senior. He was a 7-1 jumper. And this is a guy that did everything. He could do high, long, triple. He dunked from the free throw line in those old Adidas Foot Locker dunk content they have with the non-basketball players, and phenomenal athlete. Like, you're talking about 2-footed verticals just standing. And I'm sure one leg was just as good with him. I know I watched him do dunks in basketball that were kind of freakish, and he was 42 inches, vertical, kind of crazy lift. So anyway, I walk into this meet at Arcadia, and literally I had jumped 6'8" as a junior the day before, and our coaches sent my mark in, and Arcadia accepted me, and I was on the track the next day at this meet, right? And it was a nighttime meet under the lights, and like I said, Anthony Kerr was there, a guy named Bonner from Edgewood was there, Powell, and I'm sitting there walking around with this kid, with my autograph book, like, hey, I've been reading your name. Did you sign my autograph? These guys are looking at me like, who is this guy? And I'm, opening height's gonna be 6'4". I'm just like 6'4", no problem. I've never opened at that in my life, but I don't care. I was just like so stoked to be there. And Mike Powell walks up to me, and no kidding, he walks up and he goes, hey, is that your mark right there? And I'm standing by my piece of tape, I'm like, no, yeah, that's mine. Yeah, okay. He kind of looks at it and he runs up, skitters his feet a little bit, and boom, way over whatever the bar was set. Then he comes back. He's like, okay, yeah, I got to go. And he went running down to the other end of the stadium to go long jump. I'm assuming.
Really?
So I'm like, wow, yeah, that was Arcadia. So it's still that premier kind of meet. The requirements have dropped, like it seems, in a lot of places. The high end is still the high end. Like when I'm talking to you, a 7'5" and a quarter jumper, there are still plenty of guys in the U.S. like that. But it doesn't seem like we have as many, I think, because of basketball and volleyball and other sports that can make a lot of money. Football has probably got their share of really great jumpers over there too. But, this meet has hung on. And so the last year it was canceled. They canceled it, right away, right after the pandemic started. And it bit the dust, and it's a huge deal, because you have all the vendors that show up and they're all selling their equipment, and, and there's just people packed in the stands, and it's a really big deal. And this year they had it back, fortunately, but none of that stuff again. So I don't know what they've lost these last 2 years, the sponsors, investors, because they haven't made much more than a dime. You could only have 1 or 2 parents with you, or 1 coach, or it was really stringent, with the restrictions for COVID.
Oh,
so
okay.
They didn't make any money doing the Arcadia meet again this year, I'm pretty sure. So when they said that they were canceling the state meet, and it's weird because California right now, if nobody out there knows, is the lowest infection rate in the nation, I think. And for whatever reason, with the success of the vaccinations and whatever, but even with that, they weren't able to get all the different counties involved, because California is a huge state. Most people don't realize it's like, it's really big, and from north to south, there's a lot of ground there. So the counties up north, like, we never jump against those guys until we got to the state meet, and you might see them at a meet like Arcadia if they bothered to come down. So they had all these counties, and they couldn't agree on a date or a place, and they finally said, okay, we're not having the state meet. So Arcadia and I think 4 or 5 big investors came up with the idea of, hey, why don't we have a 2-day state championship meet that we're going to put on and make some of this money. I'm sure they're going to try to make some money back because
that's cool. Wow.
Yeah, they've really taken it. The last couple of years, unfortunately, nothing going on there. What is the other pressing questions for Jordan, the Jumpman Wesner? I swear, I wish I was on a radio talk show. I'd just like, all right, we want to open up the phone lines because we finally pinned this guy down. You wouldn't believe how much trouble I've had getting. You got to be one of the busy guys around. So, just last thing before I let you go, this has been great. What is it that you're doing now to prepare? Now the trials are we inside a week. When you said you were leaving on Monday, right?
Yeah, we leave we leave Tuesday. We leave not tomorrow, but Tuesday. Yep,
Tuesday, and they're in Oregon.
Yes, sir.
Always in Oregon. Beautiful place. I have fond memories of Oregon from going against them when I was at UCLA. And then so you fly into Oregon. You're going to stay. It's in Eugene, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So we leave. We're going to leave Tuesday. We fly right out of Tallahassee. I think we'll get there Tuesday later afternoon. I mean, because we gained 3 hours coming out there, which is kind of nice. We jump the prelim. So I don't know if they've done this in the past, but we have a prelims and finals for high jump. And the prelims are on Friday. And then I believe so we're taking 24 total. I believe they take the top 12 out of the prelims. Right. Then we have the finals on Sunday. We'll be jumping. Okay. And then, Sunday, and we'll see what happens Sunday, hopefully. And then I believe top 6 there goes to top 3, obviously, if you have the standard, goes to the Olympics. And top 6, I believe, goes to the Pan Am Games if they're still having it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you said one thing that I really, really liked, Jordan, and that was, and I try to use this with my athletes all the time, but I don't know if you caught it out there, ladies and gentlemen, but he's positive self-speak, because he said, we're going to jump in the prelims on Friday, and then we're going to jump in the finals on Saturday. And in my mind, that says that in your mind, that's a done deal. And you're going to jump and make the top 12 and then continue on, which it sounds crazy, but I tell you, I'm always trying to plant little seeds like that with my jumpers, and they're saying if they're jumping, I had one young lady this year who was jumping 5 feet early in the year, and I'll be like, okay, so, as we're going along, I'll be like, okay, later on this year, after you've made 5.4 and we're taking our jumps at 5.6, and I just say stuff like that, and I watch their face to see their reaction, because I'm not sitting there going, I'm assuming that you're going to make 5.4 or this or that. I'm just like, I'm throwing it out there like it's already done, like it's already written in stone. There's no doubt about this. This is not only possible, but it's done. Later on, we're going to be jumping at these kinds of heights, and that the positive imagery is something that I wanted to bring up as I'm a big believer in visualization, in rehearsals, the mental visualization. And, a lot of things have been done in this country by Dwight Stones. And, I always take my hat off to him when it comes to that area in particular, because, if you ever watch any of the Dwight Stones videos, you'll see him standing up for his jump, and then you'll see him going like, he's bouncing his head in rhythm, and you guys can't hear me because you're on radio, but he's doing this thing. And I'm like, I remember looking at him going, what's he doing? I'm like, oh, he's running his curve. And then you'll see him, visualize the arms going up, and maybe the knee pops up. And I'm like, so I've always tried to use a lot of, I'm big on video, first of all. And I know it works from my point of view, just because it helped me so much my junior in high school. But watching good technique, practicing it, the rehearsals. Like I keep telling my kids, in between your classes, if you hated history like I did, and you're 10 minutes and you're already falling asleep, I go, get up and walk through your curve in your room, and walk through your arm sequence, or drive your knee up and across, or, whatever it is you can do, break these things down into different pieces. And I'm like, and it's a great way to keep from beating yourself up at practice, by taking 45 million too many jumps and, killing yourself with shin splints at the end of the year.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing. And the other thing I liked is what you said, the positive mental. It's it's something that I'm sure that there's been tons of books written on. And of course, if you followed athletics the last 20 years, you keep hearing, how important the sports psychologists have become.
Yeah.
There are negative self-speak athletes out there. And the only person I can remember ever who was a negative self-speaker that seemed to come out of it on the plus end was John McEnroe, the tennis player, because he'd be yelling at the umpire and telling them that they're stupid. And then he'd be telling everybody he was stupid. I can't believe I just did that. And he's screaming at the top of his lungs. But he was a great tennis player. So I don't know. He was the only one that I know that got away with the negative stuff. But, well, listen, I really appreciate you, Jordan, taking the time. It was a pleasure finally getting to meet you. Everybody that's out there, if you're as big a fan as I am, keep your eyes on this young man. He's jumped 7.5 and a quarter. I know there's more in the tank. He's got plans. He's going to make it through to the Olympic trials, the final, and then top 6, like you said, go to the Pan Am Games, and the top 3 get to go to the big show in Japan. So I hope you're rooting for him the way I am. Happy to see anything and everything we can get from him, posts, videos that he sends graciously. And I appreciate your time, Jordan. The best of luck. And if you got anything you'd like to say to the podcast people out there, hit them with the last thing.
Awesome. No pressure. Thank you. First off, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And, going back to what Troy said, mindset is 100% it. We have 10, I really think we have 15 guys in the country right now who can jump a 230 bar. There comes down to 2 big things. First off is, I think the largest thing is the mindset. I know guys who go out there, they'll miss a bar, and guess what? They shut down. Yeah. They just shut down out there. And that's huge. If you don't have the mental mindset, that's half the game right there. You're done. The next thing is, the actual coaching of it. I don't know a lot of coaches in the country, know how to coach the high jump proficiently as guys like yourself, or, I would like to give a shout out to Patrick Pyle and my current coach now, Keith Hurston. There's a rare few coaches who actually understand the event itself, but mindset and just do the right things, eat the right food, and you're going to be successful. That's definitely it, but definitely keep that mindset in play.
All right. Well, Jordan, best of luck. I'm going to be, I'm really usually pretty clueless. My wife will tell you I'm the one who's like, what? I wasn't paying attention. Again, I'm the guy at the track meet that they go, did you just see that guy break the world record in 100 meters? I'm like, no, I was watching high jump. Like that's
the truth, man. That's
the relays. I don't see anything else. I have this amazing, focus or lack of expansion, whatever you want to call it. But I will be watching those trials results and making sure that I can get to see you perform. So best of luck, and hopefully we'll get you back another time to talk about all those experiences and how much fun you had in Eugene. If I can throw this out there, those of you that have been in Eugene, close by Eugene, Oregon, we flew in there and then we went right to the stadium. So there's a place in town, if you can find it, look up Tracktown Pizza. I don't know if you've ever.
Yep, I've been there. I was there the last time we went out there. Yes,
that's
sir.
A great place because they've got all these pictures on the wall of
cool, very cool place.
Right? High jump, everybody, sprinters, jumpers, throwers, and then I think I saw Russ Francis up there. I know you might not know who Russ Francis was. He's an all-world tight end with the New England Patriots that right at the end of his career got traded to 49ers, and they won the Super Bowl with him in '84. But he was like a 250-foot javelin thrower in high school in Oregon.
Really?
I think
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I'm pretty sure. I might be getting the numbers wrong, but I know that he was one of those guys that I'm pretty sure he's on the walls there. I want to go back because my freshman year I got taken there by a bunch of guys. I was fortunate enough to make that travel squad, and we had a blast up there, even though we got our butts kicked. And then in '84 we went up there. They always had us set up the dual meets when they got us up there. It was almost always Oregon weather, so we're sunny Southern California kids.
Right.
And we get up there and man, I'm telling you, we're inside that Olympic stadium, and it's 1983 is my freshman year, and they're introducing us, and all of a sudden the guy's talking and he goes, yeah, Del Davis from UCLA, blah, 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 7.7 and a quarter. And then he stops and he looks up and he goes, ladies and gentlemen, is that snow? Like this,
really?
There's 5,000 people in this cold and it's starting to snow, and they just start laughing and stomping their feet, right? This is duck weather. They have us right where they want us. So they just destroyed us because we're all sitting there shivering and we're not even wanting to take off our sweats. And, so we went through that. And then my sophomore year, we went back and they had a guy named Joaquin Cruz, who is one of the great Olympians of all time. He was their 400 meter, 800 meter guy. And so he beat us, and I think he ran the 400 to 800 and anchored the 4x4 relay at the end. And it was a little bit closer this time because it wasn't as cold, but with him winning all those events, they still killed us. And so it wasn't until my junior year that I went there. It was cold the first day when we got there, and I'm thinking, oh God, here it comes again, you know. And we got up the next morning and it was bright and clear, and it warmed up to about 85 degrees.
Wow.
And we beat them 100 and something to 60. First time anybody put 100 on them. And I don't remember when, and they did not invite us back, as I remember. So that is my favorite Oregon story. But we did go once I had been taken to Tracktown Pizza. I made sure I took the younger guys the next 2 years to go visit that place. And they did. I don't know if you noticed when you were there, they had something called the Mile Pizza, which was with a whole wheat crust. So I would also recommend that if they still have it.
I'll have to give that a shot. I mean, I'm going to be out there in a couple of days, so I'll try it.
Right? And pizza is a good high jumper food, like you said, because you'll burn it off anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And you weigh 200 pounds anyway, you big, heavy.
I'm a big dude, man.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping one of these days, Aaron, we'll get to meet face to face, give you a good handshake and a bro hug, and celebrate some great jumping here at the Olympics.
That'd be awesome.
All right, sir. Really appreciate your time, man. Have a safe flight. Awesome. We're looking for some great results.
Thank you, Troy. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.